Hi everybody, my name is Olivia Hammond and this is going to be the first of my vlog videos. I say it like that because I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm using my iPhone, which is going to flip my face around and make me look like I've had a stroke, which, nothing against anyone that looks like they've had a stroke, but that's not really what I'm going for. I've had to come upstairs to my dressing room because the light outside is gone, so I just look horrendous anywhere else apart from these lights. So it's a bit like Blackpool Pleasure Beach on my face, but we'll go with it. So I'm going to try and not stop this and redo it because that's what I keep doing, and I'm just gonna, go with it. So you might have to bear with me. This is just not scripted or anything, so it's going to be very rambly, but I'm doing this because I have basically had health issues for about 18 months and I'm trying to navigate through these issues, and I've delved into a lot of research and a lot of ways that I can help myself, and I think it would be really beneficial to share my experiences and share what I'm doing for myself because I think other people will benefit from it, especially women. So I'll start off at the beginning. About 18 months ago, I started having a lot of phlegm, coughing up a lot of phlegm, and this came along with severe acid reflux, and I'm talking really, really bad acid reflux to the point where I was scared to eat anything. I was in a lot of pain. I was in bed quite a lot with it. And I became very restrictive with food and what I could eat in my head, what I thought was good for me. So I'd cut out a lot of things and I just stuck to eating certain foods, and little did I know I was actually causing the problem. But this is the problem with the health industry. We often think we're doing the right thing and we're not, because we're uneducated and a lot of the time we're told the wrong thing. So yeah, it started off with a lot of phlegm. I went to the doctors. I've always had this sort of intuition where I've wanted to follow more holistic routes. I've never been one to run to the doctors. I've never been one to take paracetamol. I've never been one to sort of take medication, because I've always had this intuitive feeling that I want to get to the root of the problem and not necessarily just medicate it. But anyway, I went to the doctors because I was obviously quite worried, and the doctors originally thought that I might have some allergic asthma, which has developed because I was quite blocked everywhere. I didn't think I had asthma, but I had to give what they said a go. So I had inhalers and that sort of thing, and they put me on strong antacids, which are to help the acid reflux. Now, at the time I didn't realise, but if you don't know, if you have heartburn, it's not likely because you have too much stomach acid, it's because you don't have enough. And antacids reduce the stomach acid, or they neutralise it. So antacids are a strong form of Gaviscon and Rene. They're prescribed, as far as I'm aware. Again, I'm no doctor, but this is my experience, so you have to bear with me. But they help to neutralise it. So whilst you might get instant relief, they're not going to help the problem in the long run. They're just going to make it worse. So I was on all these types of tablets and all sorts to try and help, and it was just making it worse. But I didn't realise at the time it just wasn't getting me better. Went back to the doctors, said there was no change, said I was still really suffering with stomach issues. They felt my stomach. I was booked in for a scan which didn't reveal any abnormalities. In the meantime, before I had that scan, they thought that I might have a blockage in the nose and an infection. Didn't think it was that, but again, was put on antibiotics. I was a little bit resistant to go on antibiotics because, again, if you don't know, unless you really, I'm not saying antibiotics are bad, because if you need them, they're amazing and they can save a lot of people. But if you don't need them and you're just being given them willy-nilly, they can really, really damage your gut and have a massive impact on your body. So I was put on them. I had to give it a go, I guess. Well, I didn't have to, but I did. And I didn't have an infection of the nose. The antibiotics didn't do anything, and they will have made my stomach issues worse. I went for an ERT, which is cameras up the nose, and that didn't reveal anything because they thought I had a blockage in the nose. So I was then booked in for a gastroscopy, which is cameras in the stomach, which was months after, which was actually recently I had that done, which didn't actually reveal any abnormalities. Just a lot of bile, but again, I'll get on to why. So yeah, this was months ago. I had all this with the doctors, and it got to the point where I was like, I'm not going to see the doctors anymore. They're not helping me. I'm going to do my own research. So I sort of had to figure things out for myself, really. And at the time, I thought I was doing everything right for me. I was exercising well, I was training well. Maybe I'd become a little bit restrictive with food because I'm quite a stressy person, and I think when people go to the gym and they want to look a certain way, you can then become a little bit obsessive and restrictive with food. And I think I have been like that for a few years. Well, I know I have. But I was eating quite a lot, and I thought I was eating the right foods. So turns out I wasn't. I came across somebody when I was doing all my research. I came across somebody called a medical medium. If people haven't heard of him, I would highly recommend you look at his Instagram. He's got numerous of books out. The book that I bought is Cleanse to Heal, and I thought, I'm just going to give it a go. Lots of people think that he's crazy because he's not a qualified doctor. He is a guy that claims to have like inherited all this knowledge from up above, but it worked for me, and it's worked for millions of people. And what he says makes perfect sense. So I would highly recommend looking at him if there's any issues or you want to do like a cleanse. But anyway, I followed a cleanse for strictly for about a week, and the cleanse that I followed was very much, if you've got an issue with your gut, if you've got disease, because I didn't know what I had. I didn't know if I had bacterial overgrowth. I didn't know if I had parasites. I've not had that sort of testing done, so I treated myself like I had a severe problem with my gut. Well, with my body, because I think of it as a whole, and that's what he sort of treats you as. So, you know, your gut is a representation of your overall health. So I did a cleanse, and that was basically fruit and veg, very minimal protein, because we live in a generation now, whatever word you want to say, where we are so focused on protein that we're eating I can't think of the word. We're not eating quality protein. We're eating just as much as we can get in. We're eating the protein yogurts, the protein bars, and we're not looking at the actual goodness and quality of the food, which is essentially what I was doing. I was buying protein yogurts and eating loads of Greek yogurt, eating loads of peanut butter, because, you know, you think that it's the right thing for you, but you can actually do yourself a lot of damage. So yeah, I did a cleanse. I had fresh celery juice every morning, which I still have to this day, and that I started this cleanse in March. And it was very much strip back protein and fats. If you're going to have them later on in the day. But for the cleanse that I did for a week, I was very, very, very strict. And I'm talking steamed vegetables, as much fruit as I wanted. I did have oats, so like porridge with fruit. But I started off just having fruit in the morning, vegetables in the afternoon, and it got to a point where I was starving, so I did have to have some protein. So I was having like chicken or wild caught salmon, you know, quality stuff, organic chicken. And yeah, very, very similar for dinner. You know, I wasn't having eggs, I wasn't having dairy, I wasn't having caffeine, I wasn't having any chemicals, sugar, artificial sugars, anything like that. And I basically started to feel better. And that was a worry to me, because I thought, well, I can't live like this forever. It's impossible. So I did more research, and I was eating originally a lot of peanut butter in the morning with yogurts. I changed it up a bit, but I was a bit addicted to peanut butter, and I was underestimating how much I was having. I was having like big spoonfuls, you know, on toast, and it's fattening. But I thought, good fat, so I'm fine. Well, peanut butter was making me severely sick. I know this now because I've done more research, and I came across somebody called Tim Biohacker on Instagram, and he talks about how peanut butter contains a lot of mold. I think it's aflatoxins in peanut butter, and it's basically toxic for your body. So I guess if you're having a little bit every so often, it's not so bad. Like, every food has got good, bad things. You know, you can eat fruit that's covered in pesticides, so there's always going to be a bad element to something that you're eating that's considered healthy. But I was eating a lot of peanut butter, and according to the medical medium, I was causing my liver to be completely overloaded, and it was causing a sluggish liver. So he says that if you're eating a high protein diet, you're eating a high fat diet because the two coincide. Whether that's true for certain foods nowadays, because I know you can get low fat, high protein, but I think if they're whole foods and they're not these synthetically made foods, they tend to be high protein, then they'll be high fat, or higher fat, I should say. So I was obviously eating too much of that. I think I had mold in my body, which was causing the phlegm, the inflammation, the acid reflux. It was due to, so because my liver was completely overburdened and sluggish, it could not break down the fats and the protein that I was putting in my body. So everything that I was eating was rotting essentially in my stomach and causing severe acid reflux because the liver could just not break it down. So I was then taking all this medication that was reducing the stomach acid further and will have been causing more issues, and then the antibiotics. So it was just, I was just so sick. And ironically, I might look fit and healthy, or before I might have looked fit and healthy, and I just was not fit and healthy. I was really suffering, and it really affected my anxiety, like food anxiety. I didn't want to go out. I couldn't eat past a certain time at night, and I'm still very anxious about that because if I hadn't fully digested the food or hadn't given myself enough time before bed, it would hurt and I would be in a lot of pain. And I'm talking a week of like sore tummy, and I still can get that now. I know I'm quite sensitive. I know that your mind is linked to your gut, so I often think that I'm going to get a tummy ache from food, and I can give myself a tummy ache. I think I will always be like that. I'm naturally quite an anxious person, and through these issues I'm obviously more anxious about food. So it's definitely a journey and a learning curve that I'm going on. But I basically came to the conclusion, without rambling on too much, that I was just making myself so ill with the food that I was eating, which is ironic because I thought I was doing the best for me, and turns out I was just poisoning myself with peanut butter. So for any peanut butter lovers out there, I suggest you reduce slightly and don't become addicted like I was, because it's pretty bad for you. Even organic peanuts, because mold can still grow in the, I think, as far as I'm aware, in peanut butter and nut butters. Any nut butter, there is mold in them. So yeah, it's not ideal. So I don't really eat a lot of that anymore. So I did that cleanse, and that sort of broke the habit of being addicted to that. I started to feel a lot better, and I thought, I've solved my issue. At the time as well, I've been suffering with irregular periods for years, and I'm talking a long time. I've always suffered with that. And I guess being on the pill when I was younger, it sort of masked the problem because you sort of have your week off, or I did, where you bleed. But then not being on the pill for a good few years now, I've really suffered with regularity. And there was a time a few years ago when, looking back, this was probably been an influential factor in missed periods, but I was doing a lot of HIIT workouts and fasted HIIT. So I'd wake up in the morning, I'd do a HIIT workout for 20 minutes, really intense, get it out of the way, done, perfect. Well, I've done a lot of research, and for any women that does fasted HIIT, it's not great for your hormones, especially not for the type of person that I am, naturally quite stressy. If you've got high cortisol, this is just going to completely induce high cortisol through your body. And if you're trying to lose weight especially, high cortisol is not great. So in the morning, the first thing in the morning, you want to be doing gentle exercise. For women, I don't know as much about men. I've obviously just done my research on women, but if you're a woman, in order to not fuck your hormones up, you want to be gentle in the morning, and you don't want to be doing any particular workout until you've had food, because you're just going to stress yourself out. And that's what they say, like, about caffeine on an empty stomach. Some people fine, but if you're getting up in the morning, you're stressy, the cortisol level's not dropped, and you're drinking coffee, and then you go into the gym and you're doing a HIIT, it's, especially every day like I was doing, and I was doing that, I was having a coffee in the morning, then I wasn't eating till lunch. Again, if you're doing fasting, it may work for some, but fasting's the same. There's a certain window where you want to be fasting. And for women, it's not missing breakfast, it's missing dinner. If that's the one, if you're trying to fast, that's the way to lose weight. And it's all to do with your hormones. Again, I'm not an expert, but I have done a lot of research, and I know that what I was doing was impacting my hormones, and I wasn't losing weight. I thought I was doing everything to lose weight at the time a few years ago, but I wasn't losing weight, and that will be because I was actually over exercising and my hormones were just completely out of whack. Too much stress on my body. So I've changed that up. I now do Pilates, walking, very occasionally do a gentle jog, weightlifting, don't really do hits. They're not right for me. I don't mind a hit, and if I did one, it would be in the afternoon, but again, not really what I was doing. So yeah, I think I've just completely depleted my hormones. And interestingly, when I did this cleanse, it was the first time in forever since I can remember that I had a period, which I thought was mental, because I thought that I was doing more harm to my body and putting it under more stress by doing a cleanse, because I was being so restrictive. It was like nothing that was considered bad. I mean, even eggs that are considered a health food, he says, can feed bacteria and parasites in you. So in order to sort of purge all the badness out of you, you need to strip everything out. So I did, and I don't recommend that because restriction is not a good thing. But it worked for me to help to understand what my issues were, and magically I came on my period, which I thought was bizarre. And I thought, oh my God, I fixed all my problems. This is amazing. I lost some weight, which at the time I didn't realise, but I did probably lose about a stone. I felt better. I didn't have the issues that I had. My stomach issues were pretty much under control, and I came on my period. And I thought, brilliant. So I started to eat more regularly, more normally again, introducing more foods, obviously quite carefully. I don't not eat any food. I'm just quite still quite regimented. I still try and eat a very healthy, sort of organic as much as I can diet, limit synthetics, chemicals, but since that period that I had that was normal for the first time in years in March, I have not had one since. And so I'm still here with issues, trying to figure out what's going on with me. So I feel like I do everything right. There's people that go and do fasted HIIT every morning and, smoke, drink, whatever, get pregnant. I'm not trying to get pregnant. I'm just saying they have periods, they ovulate, they can get pregnant. I, as it stands, wouldn't be able to get pregnant, and that's my concern, is that in the future, if I want to have children, I need to get my health on track. So I've been really worried, to be honest. So this led me to the fertility test that I had, which if you've not heard of, I found it through Instagram. It's a female hormone and fertility test where you take a blood sample at home, you send it off, you do a questionnaire, and it will give you it will test hormones that it thinks are most suitable to be tested for you based on the questionnaire that you fill out. So that came back, and I was very, very low in estradiol, which is estrogen, a form of estrogen, I think, and LH, which is luteinizing hormone. Again, I'm no expert with this, but it wasn't great. My estradiol was literally like 0, and I just felt like I knew that it wasn't going to be great, but it was just shit to see, because even though it gave me some answers, it said, this is why you're not having periods, this is why you're not ovulating, this is why, you might have increased anxiousness and X, Y, Z. There's still issues, and I still feel lost, because I feel like I'm doing everything that I can that's correct. I follow people on Instagram that, do these things for hormones, and I drink hot water every morning with peppermint tea, and then have celery juice, and then have fruit. I exercise, So I just felt a bit lost, to be honest. And you can, with fertility, after you get your results, book on to have like a consultation with somebody, but I wanted to see somebody in person. So my friend, who very similar to me, is really into like holistic well-being and all sorts of things like me. She recommended a lady who is amazingly just down the road from where I live. She has a clinic, and on Instagram she's called the Cheshire Acupuncturist. And I went to see her last Monday, and she was amazing. I came away like blown away with her knowledge. And you know, you just think, why aren't we told these things at school? Like, why aren't we educated? It's so important for women. And I was just blown away by her. Amazing. So she basically looked at my hormone results and could interpret them together. She said that there's a chance that you could have PCOS, but then she since spoke to me on email and said the likelihood is you don't, because of other results, other hormones that have come back within range and all sorts of things. So I'm no expert, but she was just amazing. We spoke for 45 minutes. She then did some acupuncture on me. Acupuncture I've had before, and it has been helpful to help me start my period. And for anyone that doesn't know, it's like needling into your different parts of your body and the meridians in your body that help to sort of link up areas of your body and improve the flow of energy. So I'm obviously stagnant in it's Chinese medicine, so some people might think cuckoo, but I'm really interested and into all that. So, and it's helped. It very much treats the body as a whole and not just one area like doctors do. You know, they'll treat one area and not think of the body altogether. So I had some acupuncture helping to sort of link that womb to brain, which there's obviously some dysregularity at the minute. And we spoke for ages. She then sent me an amazing email a few days later interpreting more results, telling me recommendations. I've since she recommended a hair mineral test, which I sent off a few days ago, and I should get that back in a few weeks. She spoke to me about the minerals and said basically if you have, so minerals work together and the ratios need to be right for minerals, and minerals are like the building blocks of your body. So if there's anything that's too high or too low, it can cause an imbalance in like everything in your body, and it can mess up your hormones. And essentially if you're, you know, you could be eating the right foods and doing the right things, but your body can't absorb those nutrients from the food because there's imbalances elsewhere. And yeah, she basically said I could have, for example, she showed me an example of a report and it was quite amazing. And she said that maybe my calcium's too high. I think it's hypercalcification or something, where your body just sort of calcifies on the inside. That can be due to many factors like stress or whatnot. It could be diet, it could be the diet previously that I've adopted. Again, I'm no expert, but she said that that can cause, you know, increased anxiousness. I am quite an OCD person, you know, I'm that annoying person that like checks the light switches off and the oven's off and the door's locked, and it's like I've locked it but I've got to check it, you know. Fucking hell, it's like, it's hard work being me and it's hard work to be around me. But it was nice for her to say that can really cause those problems if you have imbalances in minerals, and it was like, God, there's an answer for me being such a fucking crazy cow. So it was nice, yeah, to just speak to someone and explain that the issues that I've dealt with for years, you know, could be that I just clearly have something wrong that we can fix. And I think it's important for other people to know that, because we're not told that. You know, ADHD and all these, you know, we're born with it, or, you know, a lot of it can be down to food, and the medical medium talks about that as well, how we're feeding it with ultra processed food, UPF. The chemicals, they affect your brain, they affect your gut, and they can really aggravate, you know, disease and issues if you've got anything wrong with you. And I think we need more awareness of that, not to be told, oh, it's just a condition you're born with, you know, here's some pills. Well, no, there's ways around it, and there's more research that's coming out, and we need to make that you know, more aware. Bit off topic, but Zoe, they do a podcast and they talk about all sorts on there, and I highly recommend listening to their podcast. They're the ones that do like blood glucose monitoring, which maybe I'll talk about in another podcast so I don't ramble on, but I don't know if I'm really into that, because I think people are too fixated on blood glucose and not the bigger picture sometimes. But yeah, their podcast I highly recommend. They talk a lot about different things on there, like health related, and really spread awareness. And they talked a lot about UPF, ultra processed food, and the diets that like 80% of the population have, and why it's leading to disease and all sorts that medical doctors don't make the link, or they don't want to talk about, basically. So where was I? Just rambling. rambling. So yeah, I went to see Kate. She was amazing, the Cheshire acupuncturist. If anyone wants to follow her on Instagram, her clinic is called the Juniper Clinic. And yeah, we spoke about loads of things. We went right back to the beginning, when I started my period, when did I go on the pill. She says that it takes, I think she said 7 years to establish a regular menstrual cycle, and I probably went on the pill about a year after my period. So again, there's a problem that we don't even consider when we're young. Hopefully the next generation will be more aware, but everyone just gets on the pill. They think, you know, it's the thing to do, and it can damage you. And I think it's played a massive role in damaging my menstrual cycle anyway. So she looked at my tongue. She could tell that I have a lot of heat in my lung, my heart and my liver, which ironically I've had liver issues, and my feet are quite cold all the time, even though they can be quite sweaty, which she said there's a saying, cold feet, cold womb. So it's quite amazing if you're into sort of this Chinese medicine and sort of spiritual, holistic side of things. I find it amazing. What else did we speak about? I'm having more bloods done, which I need to book in for. I actually had bloods done with a private doctor last year, and there was only a few things that came back out of range, but ironically nothing was wrong according to them. Everything was sort of okay. They didn't really pick up on anything, and a lot of it is how a doctor interprets results. But looking back, I looked at my results the other day, and I was high in good cholesterol, too high, and globulin was too low, and they can both indicate liver issues. But no one ever made the link that the phlegm could be to do with the liver, and the liver is like one of the most important organs. It like processes everything as far as I'm aware. So it's so important, especially with Chinese medicine. So yeah, looking back, I just didn't really get the help, or not because the doctors didn't care, because I just don't think they have the knowledge of nutrition and that side of things. It's very much medicine. So yeah, I'm so happy and thankful that I've taken a different route and come into contact with some amazing people that have helped me so far. And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to having my hair mineral analysis back. That cost £70, so it is quite dear, but it's going to give me a full analysis of all the minerals in my body. And from that, we can hopefully make a plan of what to work on, what needs improving, what's wrong. Blood tests I'm having done soon. What else? So yeah, I'm booked in for another acupuncture session tomorrow. I'm going to have weekly acupuncture to really try and help make that link for my womb and my brain, because there's just something that's just not going right. I also need to ease off on the exercise, and this is something that I really struggle with. I have this anxiety that I'm just going to become a fat mess, and since I've lost weight and I'm feeling, and I think I look better in myself, I'm paranoid about putting that weight back on. So I can be quite like restrictive, and then like want to eat loads of food and then be like, I've got to, you know, it's an unhealthy cycle, and that unhealthy cycle I think causes a lot of problems for your body, because you have a lot of resentment and worry around food, and it's like trauma. You know, if you've gone through a traumatic experience, which I've gone through a few, it can really cause problems in your body, because you're holding on to that energy and that bad vibes. So I'm learning to sort of process things, to let go of things, to be more relaxed, but it's hard. I'm one of those people, from the minute I get up in the morning, you know, my heart's a bit like, I'm always on the go. So yeah, my goals are really to ease up on the weight training, because I think I'm not very good at this, but in terms of a menstrual cycle, you obviously have different phases, and that's something as well that Kate talked about going back, is that I'm on natural cycles, which you track your temperature every morning, and that's my form of contraception. And yeah, the temperature thermometer, the thermometer that you put in your mouth every morning, take your temperature. She says that unless you're taking that every single morning at the same time, and the thermometer is going in your mouth for 10 minutes before you actually take your temperature, it's not an accurate reading. Now, that's not to say natural cycles is bad, because I think it's amazing. And I think it's a great way for girls to, you know, take control of um, their contraceptive health, whatever you want to call it, you know, as a way to being in control of their menstrual cycle and not having to go on contraception. It is a form of natural contraception, and I think that's amazing, and I really recommend it. But it was quite interesting to hear that it's not, the temperature thing is not great. And to be fair, natural cycles isn't all based on your temperature. It just, when it sees fluctuations, it can help to know which sort of phase you're in and when you're due on. But if you're a regular person anyway and you're putting all that data in, then, you know, it just is a way to track when you're due on, and it'll let you know and whatnot. And, you know, it'll give you the green days, the red days. Mine are all red anyway because I don't have a period, so it basically says we can't take that risk with you, just don't have sex. So anyway, that's fine by me. So what was I saying? So yeah, Kate talked about something called the temp drop, which is something that you strap to your arm. And it tracks your sleep and your temperature all the time. Doesn't matter if you get up in the night for a wee, doesn't matter. I think it's great, which she made a good point, for women that are breastfeeding and have to get up, you know, in the night to see babies. It will consistently track your temperature, and it's really, really accurate. I think it is about £250, so it is an investment, but by the sounds of it, it's something that I probably should get, because it tracks, and she showed me like an example of the graph. It will track the different phases of your period, and one thing of your menstrual cycle, sorry. And one thing that I found really interesting is that in order to get pregnant, I think she said you need at least, I think, 12 days in the luteal, which is the build up to your period. You need that time, and stress and all sorts of factors can contribute to a reduced luteal phase. And if you have a reduced luteal phase, it's not easy to conceive. So it's definitely something to consider if there's anybody out there watching this thinking, you know, I've had tests done, I'm ovulating, I've worked with the doctors, but I can't seem to conceive. You know, temp drop, this thing straps to your arm, it can help show you more, it gives you more information on your body, and I think it's really useful. So it's something that I need to get, I think, to be able to track what's going on with my temperatures. And naturally my temperature's too low at the minute, it's not reaching high enough. So I feel like if I'm right in saying I'm consistently in this like luteal phase, which is like the build up to my period, and I get these like influx of hormones where I feel quite like I'm about to come on my period, and I get that sort of tummy ache, and I feel quite like emotional, and then it goes. So it's like my body's constantly trying to warm up, and I get quite a lot of without, you know, going into too much information, I get that that like discharge all the time, which is your body trying to generate a period. It's trying to ovulate, but you never really get there, which Kate talked about, and I get that quite a lot, like consistently. So it's like my body's constantly in work mode, trying to build up to that. So I need to really lay off the exercise. I find that hard. I'm trying to do less weightlifting, more gentle Pilates, more gentle walking, allow my body to just chill, because really I struggle to do that. And I think that's a problem for me. And, you know, I'll wake up and think, oh, it'll be fine, I'll just go to the gym, but I really need to just be a little bit more and take my own advice, be a bit more chill. And, you know, if I put on a bit of weight, I put on a bit of weight. It's okay, you know. You can lose it again if you really want to. I need to work on my health and get to the problems, sort them out. So yeah, I think without rambling on too much, that's everything that I wanted to say in my first video. I'm going to have a lot more that I want to talk about. I want to talk about an awful lot. I've got a lot to say when it comes to diets and the health industry and this focus on protein. You know, one thing that the medical medium says is that our body, our liver, has the ability to make a lot of important proteins through the foods like leafy greens and fruit and vegetables. So we're so focused on protein that people are now eating shit protein. You know, these protein powders that are probably full of chemicals and badness. You know, we're just buying it, all sorts of shite, to just try and reach these protein requirements. And it's infuriating to see, especially these girls on Instagram that are so influential. They've got such big followers, and they're, you know, how to eat 1,500 calories a day, but hit 200 grams of protein. I mean, How the fuck do you do that without drinking 0-calorie sweetener drinks full of shit that have got, you know, nothing in them, no goodness in them, but, you know, protein bars that are low in fats and sugars, but just full of sweeteners. And it's just, it infuriates me. All these powders and all sorts that are not healthy. And ironically, they might look amazing. You know, I know more than anyone, you can look particularly fit and healthy, but not be fit and healthy. And ironically, one girl that I do follow that is, you know, she's amazing, but she put something on about not taking she can't take creatine or something because she's got a minor liver issue. You've probably got a liver issue because you're basically drinking, you know, these 0-calorie sweeteners in your coffee every morning and then doing a training session with no food in you, and then you're going home and eating your highly processed bread with chocolate protein spread on. I mean, listen, it's all about balance, and I can't speak because I've clearly done something wrong, but I'm trying to share information and help other people not make the same mistakes as me. So yeah, that's where I am today. I want to, you know, it's been half an hour, I've rambled on. If you've watched this far, I'm really appreciative. Yeah, it's going to be a bit wild, but I just want to document the journey that I'm going on. And I often have like a million thoughts a day where I'm like, oh, I need to get these out. I need to, you know, and I thought a vlog is a good way to just be able to do that and hopefully help somebody else. So yeah, that's that. I'm having another acupuncture tomorrow, so I think I'll update, and maybe next week I'll do maybe another one, and then when I get my hair mineral test analysis back, that'll be really, really interesting to do one then. I'm going to do one on more about the supplements I take. So I take certain supplements for my stomach. It's a Vimagy brand. I'm going to do one on that. Maybe a routine of what to eat in the morning and what to avoid, and you know, what to maybe avoid late at night, and hormones for women. I think I need to do one on that, like exercise and how that can be detrimental, and fasting. Everyone's going obsessive again with fasting, and that can be really, really, really detrimental to women's health. So yeah, I've got so much I want to say, but I'll finish it here. Thank you for watching, and I hope it was helpful, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye guys.